Thank you, panelists, for joining in this discussion. So I'll make it short. Building accessible spaces is more than just a design choice. It's a commitment to inclusivity and equality. When architects and planners focus on accessibility, they create environments that welcome everyone, regardless of their physical or cognitive abilities. There is no second thought about it on this subject. Nevertheless, it is quite important that we understand their point of view on how they handle such challenges and how they execute such requirements. So we actually plan to have questions asked to everyone, but because of the time challenges, we are going to just ask these questions randomly. So let's see what they answer. The first question, of course, I'll take everyone's opinion on that. So I'll start with Bhavani. What's your view on challenges and considerations for an inclusive design?
First of all, thank you, FBSM team, for having me here. I generally joke around saying I'll be the elephant in the room. Not quite literally, but because most of the time I'd be the only woman. But today I'm delighted to have architect Ramya here, along with the other eminent speakers. Now this itself is a step towards inclusivity, isn't it? So having said that, I feel the biggest challenge today with respect to inclusive design is going from compliance to compassion. See, what I mean by that is, if you just look at the accessibility design as a codal compliance, it's not true inclusion. A step here, a ramp there, and a tactile tile here, and a differently abled toilet in the core, that's not true inclusion. True inclusion begins when you start designing with empathy. And empathy-driven architecture or design goes beyond the codal compliance. See, for instance, if you have grab bars in the public infrastructure, and you design them at two levels, one for an adult and one for the children, you tend to cater to the needs of the both user groups. So you have the railing design. If done vertically, it kind of avoids the child from climbing up on its own, unintentionally also, and risk a fall. See, such small details can also make a difference. See, it's about having that thoughtful thinking and empathy towards the human differences that we come across makes the design truly inclusive. So what I'm trying to say is inclusive design needs to shift from compliance mode to actually be seen as an opportunity to create spaces that can give a sense of belonging to everyone. Thank you.
I really like the sentence, compliance to compassion. I think that's the catch. Thank you. So, Mr. Sriram.
Good evening, everyone. So, this is actually, a question where involves design, and there are three architects in this panel. So I don't know how much I'm going to contribute to this question, but as a developer, I think the philosophy that was just mentioned, that the element of compassion in design is something very, very important, right? And this, as a developer, while we design spaces, or rather we execute the design of spaces within our control, I think that itself is not enough, right? For example, when you talk about mobility or ease of mobility or inclusive mobility, it should start from the time you step out of your house, right? Which means that after you step out of your house or from your apartment complex or whatever, when you go on to the road, right? What happens if there are no footpaths available, where there is no designated walkways or designated spaces for people or for children, and everywhere, the cars or the other modes of transport take over. So all I wanted to mention is, I think it's a joint effort between the private sector and the public sector, and it has to be a more, inclusive, thoughtful design philosophy which has to be implemented. Thank you.
Same question. So I have promised some of you that it will be a one-word reply. She's already used the word, but it's differently used. Empathy. I think empathy is the key over here. Second thing is seamlessness. I think I will take the trouble to explain. I'm going back on my word. I'll take the trouble to explain because my understanding of empathy is slightly different. Empathy is me putting myself in somebody else's shoe and understanding what that person went through or is going through or goes through when they are using a space. We look at people and there are so many different abilities, special needs that people have. You have, for example, a blind person. For example, a cognitively impaired person. A geriatric person, a child, like you said. I think there's no percentage to it. It is just huge. The number of different sort of people are huge. So now, to understand the requirement of each of these people and to be able to give all of them an equal right to not just live. Livable cities, think of the past. That is when modernism and industrialization happened. Today it has got to be a city that is alive, because joy factor is going to be the factor today. It should be the factor today. Not a livable city, but a city in which you enjoy yourself. People don't work for the money anymore. People don't work for they work for an environment where they are feeling good. So this livable city is a thing of the past, but we are still on it. We are grinding it. We need to go beyond that, make it a city that is alive, alive for everybody. Inclusivity, and how do I say seamlessness? Seamlessness because, like he said correctly, and like we had our CMRL person speak, a lot of your lovely projects, a lot of our buildings are so perfectly done, very usable by a lot of people. Then what happens when you leave? You saw architect Naresh had sent you a photograph. We can't show a photograph here, but then he had showed you a photograph of this supposedly footpath. Yes, a foot above the road level. Now, how does this thing, once you exit from this metro station and you're going to your place of stay or place of work, how do you now traverse this path? How do you negotiate this path and make this a joy for every different person, every differently abled person? In fact, even we are differently abled. I'm going to cut short now. Sorry.
Yeah. I would like to have some interaction from people. You look very tired. So let me ask a question. What is the biggest enemy for a blind person? What is the biggest enemy for a blind person? In one of the movies, I think Kung Fu Panda, Po says, I meet my biggest enemy, the steps. Yeah. So most of the places in abroad, you will never see the step. If you, for example, the hotels, 5-star hotels and all that. So you get down from your car or vehicle, there will not be a single step you will encounter. In India, I've seen so many steps in this hotel. We are necessitated like that. Actually, biggest challenge for us is, as a residential architect, when we build a bungalow, we are asked to provide 4 feet, 5 feet elevated from the road level. We are so scared of the flooding. How do you negotiate this for 4 feet? You need to take 10 steps. And when there is the space is minimum, like the car parking is so less, how do you provide a ramp there? This is the biggest challenge we face. I would like to tell you a story. I travel a lot of countries. I went with family to Hong Kong. So we went to a big mall of 7 floors. The mall itself 7 floors, the building itself very high, something like 100 floors. So we as a family of 5 people, we are standing in front of the lift to go to the 7th floor. It's very difficult to take the escalators all the way to the 7th floor, right? So many escalators we have to take. So we are standing in front of the lift. Every time the lift comes, the door opens, it's totally full. We are not able to enter. It's 3 times, 4 times it happens. Then one person in a wheelchair, motorized wheelchair,
he comes and we naturally leave way for him. He goes in front of us and stands. The lift comes, it opens. Still it is full, but 3 people come out. Then he goes inside, turns around, smiles at us, goes up. So that is the height of inclusiveness I want to see in our country. It's so difficult. We are so far away, maybe 50 years far away to achieve that. Hopefully, we should do that with inclusion from input from the government, etc. So when I travel to all the countries, like for example, go to London, they have introduced a line called Elizabeth line, which doesn't have a single step. Right from the road level to the platform level, you take either a lift or a ramp. There is no escalator or step. So we would like to see, like for example, the London cab has a ramp built in, and it has space for a dog, the assistive dog, to come and go inside. So we can keep talking things like this. There are so many things that we can do in our country. The 2 days back, I was traveling in Anna Nagar, the main road. 2 blind people are walking along the median. It's a 100-feet road, so much traffic, so dangerous. They somehow found that it is easier to cross the road along the median rather than crossing the road through the zebra crossing. One of my professors said, I remember, the best way to get killed in India is cross through the zebra crossing. So it sounds like that. Actually, it's a big pity. Roundtana, if you imagine the Anna Nagar Roundtana, doesn't have any pedestrian crossing anywhere. So we would like to see those kind of things. So now I pass on to Ramya.
Thank you, sir, and thank you all for here. Really different ideas and thought processes coming out, and thanks for the acknowledgement also to start with. So for me, I'm going to look at a more macro perspective. So geriatrics, as we all know, is a lot of buzz around that's happening around this word. Presently, I'm just going to throw a small statistic. 10% of the population at this point is old. And by 2050, we are looking at about 20%, which is going to be old people. So we are all heading there. So which means, we need to invariably upskill and, whether we like it or not, update and stay relevant at that point to have inclusivity, not just for old people or geriatric related, but also to the other cognitive disabilities and people with other challenges too. So speaking of which, I think policies by the government and some sort of incentives that needs to be given to the private sector to kind of encourage and make it more of, we heard the experts speak earlier about public and private partnerships, TODs, and so many other things. So we should definitely look at a macro level, sort of push it across, even as Mr. Sriram mentioned earlier too, so that it trickles down from top down. Yeah. So.
Thank you. I think it's pretty unfair that with so many architects and experienced people, I get the last chance to speak on this, because I think most of the points are already covered. This is something pretty close to my heart, and we work with a lot of people with special needs, and with autism and children with autism. So while most of them have touched upon basically physically challenged and stuff like that, as a simple example is, I don't think we can ever have a physically challenged person going to the beach. None of our beaches are accessible for special people, right? But if you take people with autism, they have completely different needs in a building or in a public space. And there's a very clear data saying that almost 10% of population is getting to be special needs. And while they've touched upon a lot of the other points, I think this is something which we need to also consider, because the needs are very different, completely opposite to most of the other disabilities that are there. Like for example, in a building, in a fire alarm system, if you have a ADA-based regulation in terms of what a strobe light works, how a siren works, or a flashlight works, is very disruptive for people with autism. So I think there's a lot of things that needs to be done in spaces like this. And I'm sure India has an opportunity to do, because we are doing a lot of greenfield projects. There's an opportunity to build a lot of these things into our designs. And very importantly, I think we had somebody talking about the ERR. So it's not about return on investment, but ERR. I think a lot of these social causes have to be seen from an ERR perspective rather than purely economic perspective. Yeah, that's my view.
Thank you. Wonderful, insightful views. So this question is for architect Bhavani Mohan and architect Kurian George. So I will ask Bhavani first. So most of the designs focus on physical impairments and rarely on sensory, especially on auditory impairments. How do you see this? How can it be handled, and what are the challenges?
I absolutely agree, because what we see physically gets the priority because it's visible. So when it is coming to sensory, we don't actually see it. So this is again where, like how he was saying, the importance of empathy comes in. We need to ask ourselves the question, how does this space gets experienced when there is no sound? So we need to begin there. So what we need to move towards is information, or the communication needs to go from single sensory aspect to multi-sensory. For instance, what you cannot hear need to come as a visual cue, and what you cannot see need to come as a auditory cue. Like for instance, when we can probably have in transportation hubs, some broadcasting announcement is being made, there could be some flashing of LED lights or something visually, but not too intrusive, but something that can get standardized across the public spaces. So the person who's hearing impaired can actually take that as a cue instead of waiting for an announcement which he will never be able to hear. So this aspect of sensory sensitivity is extremely important. And it just doesn't stop with audio. What I'm trying to say is a reverberation, a vibration can also cause a lot of discomfort, like how he was mentioning about autism and ADHD. So in high-speed rail project, the Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train which we are designing, this is an extremely critical component, because when the train runs across at 350 km/h, it tends to create a lot of vibration and pose too many challenges with respect to the reverberation transfer across the structure. This can really cause discomfort for normal passengers itself. So what we adopt there is to understand, study the aspects. We have taken insert plates which are installed prior to drilling, and we have using double net locking system. We install anti-vibration hangers for suspended ceiling because the contact surfaces needs to get isolated. So the real issue or a barrier is not the design capability, it's about the awareness. We are not even aware that these will cause these issues. So what we need to really do is open our eyes and see things which can't be seen as well. I know it's difficult, but it needs to be done. It should become non-negotiable, like how a ramp is for a building. And that's when I think we will get there.
Thank you. Architect Kurian George.
It's difficult. It is not easy. Different disabilities have got different problems. But the world is one, and all of us have to use that one world. A person with autism reacts very violently, in fact, to certain stimuli. The stimuli could be in terms of light, sound. The alarm could really disturb a person with autism. Now, I go back to this question, and I'm saying, person with physical disability we can address. What about other sensory issues? Blindness, hard of hearing, various other things. One thing that stands there as a solution is a standard design. When you have a blind person, imagine accessing your railway station or a metro station. You have tactile directions. I'm just going to address blind, because then you have every...
Blind is generally taken care of.
No, in fact, they are not. They are not. We still do not have a single standard disability toilet, which basically means that the blind person will know where is the soap, where is the wash basin, where is this. It's not there. The grab bar, it's not there. The blind person still has to find his way around or her way around. Now, there are braille patterns to read the room. But from the beginning, that is when you have come to the railway station, have you seen a board over there which says this is how you go about it? After so many points of stoppage, you will come to your toilet, you can turn right, and then you again have a next signage. I think it's a difficult thing. It is not a simple thing, and I don't think we can sort of come up with a one-size-fits-all solution. It is a huge topic, and I'm going to content myself by responding to you at this moment, saying that there is a lot of work that all of us here will have to put in to understand the seriousness of this issue. It is not a trivial issue that can be solved. I think it is a huge issue, but it has to be addressed if we are to go forward in such a way that the entire world can live together happily as one huge place that all of us can participate in.
Thank you. My next question is to architect Ansari and architect Ramya. So my question is, how is accessibility for persons with cognitive challenges addressed? If at all, it is being, okay? Especially in residential and public buildings. What is your opinion? How are you going to handle it? I think it's a similar question to handling, but still I want to know what in your point of view is.
Should I take it first? Sure. Okay. So what is cognitive challenge? So those people who have something called dementia, those people who develop Alzheimer's disease due to the old age, right? These people come under cognitive challenge.
Actually, it's people with autism. Or
Autism, yeah, autism also, sensory, yeah, autism also. See, these people have basically confusion about many things. So we, as architects, we can do a lot in this situation rather than, many buildings are being designed by non-architects, actually. But as architects, we need to provide clean spaces, functional spaces, no complexity, clean, functional, and straightforward designs that will avoid a lot of confusion for these kind of people. And providing clean layouts like the furniture which is not coming into the corridor, walkways or something, those kind of things are very important. So we can also reduce confusion by adding things like color codes of the corridors with bright colors, and certain entranceways are demarcated by color codes. And we can also have things like the smart home technology is doing so much for this kind of thing. So we are using, all our houses are automated nowadays. So this is so useful. You go into the house and anybody can, even children can say, even cognitively challenged persons can say the words easily, rather than go and touch the switchboard, search for it, touch the switchboard. They can say, Alexa, I am home. It switches on all the required lights, and it opens the curtains, and whatever music you want, it switches on. These things are have come a lot to help them. And also we would like to see things like, eye tracking control, and those kind of things are becoming popular. Like just to switch on your air conditioning, you do certain gestures. Those will switch on, and you don't, certain people have difficulty in going on switching the physical switches. The haptic touchpads can be more useful in those kind of things. So that is my take.
So adding on Vastu colors, we all know about it. It's quite overstimulating and quite disturbing even for a normal person. Forget about someone who has cognitive challenges. So I think overstimulation through these colors needs to be, controlled. As in, architects, of course, they are quite aware of this when they design spaces. And speaking of other aspects such as less is more is what, we have Mies van der Rohe, who's, a modernist architect who was quoted in the 20th century. So just to elaborate that on that a little bit more, so I think we need to have, so we design a lot of schools, we design for a lot of children. Small things, small aspects like having vertical, lines for your staircase, grab rails, or your balcony handrails. These things kind of take care of, children not climbing and looking up. And you have corner detailings which are curved so that accordingly that's taken care of. Smaller other features like, especially in residential buildings that you asked of, that has to have like auto off taps or induction instead of LPG gases. So these are smaller things also that needs attention because it's a cumulative aspects of all these put together. And apart from this, I would also like to touch upon one more aspect, which is the space planning. As because I have a bunch of architects here as in the part of the panel, like he said, clear demarcation of spaces. If you sit in your bedroom, you need to directly look into your toilet, or you have a visual cue of where your living space is, especially for someone who's challenged. So there's ease of mobility between all these points so that it's easy to navigate on a day-to-day basis. So these are some of my thoughts on making spaces more efficient.
Thank you, Architect Ramya. My last question to Mr. Sriram and Mr. Venkatesh. What, according to you, is the future of accessible design, especially technology-driven concepts that would enhance the experience and revolutionize the way accessibility is handled currently?
So I just wanted to recap what Ms. Ramya said, that today in India, 10% of the people are old, right? And by 2050, she projected 20%, and that's a quantum jump, right? Now, as a developer, I'm currently we are doing a project for senior homes in Chennai, right? Now, the first thing we discovered was there is no comprehensive standard for senior citizen homes, right? So what do? We have to maybe look at the American standard or the European standard. Therein lies the problem, right? So everything starting from the physique of an American or an European compared to, or any Caucasian for that matter, compared to an Indian is so different, right? Also the kind of, or the nature of disabilities, right? Very different. So I think the first thing I think the country has to realize is we need to have a comprehensive guideline, right? Even in this 20-minute or 30-minute panel, there are so many suggestions, there are so many ideas which are coming out, right? And there is a whole body of knowledge available, but not documented and not standardized. So I think this is the first thing. This is the future. If at all we want to handle the challenges of the future, I think the standard has to be documented and obviously then implemented. Currently, the building rules regulations, they are a state subject. It's not a central subject, right? Every state has its own bylaws. And therefore, unless you have a universal design principle or a guideline, I think it's going to be very difficult. The second challenge is there are so many aspects, right? Somebody talked about color, Vastu color. Somebody talked about how do you make the environment, environment positive for somebody who's, let's say, is autistic, right? Even the smallest stimuli actually can, make the person react in a very different way. Now, is there a science to the design for such people, right? if normally when somebody builds a house or they buy a house, you normally plan for at least 25, 30, 40 years. You don't plan to say that every 10 years I'm going to change my house, right? You buy, let's say today, some of our youngest customers are 25, 28, 30 years old, right? So somewhere they're planning to be in that house till at least they're 70, 80 years. But is a standard apartment across the country, is it really designed to, to help him to navigate through these years? I don't think so, right? If you have a senior home, I mean, a simple thing like let's say wheelchair accessible doors. Do you really find it in any homes? You may find it in senior citizen homes if it is a senior citizen design project, right? But at some time, even if you have not reached the age of 70, at some time maybe somebody in the house may need a wheelchair. So it's absolutely inaccessible. So how do we make it that these guidelines, these principles have to be followed in every apartment, every home that is built in the country, right? Somebody talked about, the problem perhaps is that these policies or these guidelines are very patchy. Today somebody talked about, I think there is a geo, I think Mr. Muhammad Ali said, there's a geo release that every car park today in Tamil Nadu must have a EV charger, right? I think they have spotted the problem correctly, but the solution is haphazard, absolutely haphazard. Similarly, if you go to any senior citizen project, right, which should have every aspect of what you talked about, because it's not about him being 50, 60, whatever. In that 60 or 70 years old people, you'll have somebody who's perhaps autistic, somebody who's visually impaired, somebody who's not able to hear, all these kinds. Now, is it really designed for all these kinds? I don't think so. So I think there is the challenge. We have spotted the problem, but implementation is poor, and most importantly, it is patchy.
Thank you, Mr. Sriram. Mr. Venkatesh.
Yeah. So I'm going to speak my heart rather than what the point is here. We're talking about technology-driven concepts. I think the first thing that we need to talk about is empathy. I started with empathy, so I want to talk about empathy. This stage, in the next meeting, if we do not have the stage, then we have ability for somebody with wheelchair to come into the stage, right? The second aspect that we need to consider is how many of us are willing to engage people with autism, other disabilities into our discussions like this. There would be people in groups who are taking up, organizations which are taking up these causes. So if we can have them, because it's impossible for you to understand what they go through, right? It's just practically impossible, how much ever you try. I think that empathy will bring in all the technology. I think, you just don't need any technology to address these challenges, but just pure empathy. Yeah.
Thank you. I think it was quite an insightful evening. Thank you all panelists. Shreyal, I think I completed it faster than you thought.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And as I mentioned, we'll take all questions off stage. Requesting Anita and Raghunath to please join us on stage to give away the mementos, and thanking all our speakers on the panel for your time, for your support, and for sharing your inputs. Requesting the mementos to please be given. Go in the front. Start from. Thank you for moderating this session and always being of support to us. Mr. KRISHNA KUMAR RAVI, thank you so much. Also the advisory board member of Elevator World India magazine. Thank you, Architect Bhavani, Mohan. Thank you, Mr. Sriram, Iyer. Standing tall, Architect Kurian George. Thank you so much. Architect Dameem Ansari, thank you. Thank you so much. Architect Ramya Sankara Raman, thank you. And Mr. R. Venkatesh, thank you so much. Yes, requesting you all to just step ahead of the table for the group picture. And while the group picture is being taken, I would like to thank the audience for being so fantastic and being with us. Please applaud for yourselves as well, yes. And I'll just take 2 more minutes before you all leave the hall. I would like to once again thank all our partners for believing in us and their support for the Future Building and Smart Mobility Summit. The event today was supported by co-sponsor Vittur Elevator Components India, Smart Elevator Partner TK Elevator, Mobility Partner Team Mobility, and Association Partner CREDAI Chennai. Requesting all the speakers to bear with me for 2 more minutes and just be seated. This brings us to the end of the Future Buildings and Smart Mobility Summit 2025 Chennai Edition. Thank you for all your support and making this event a grand success. Our eminent speakers, chief guest, guest of honor, keynote speaker, all our partners, you are attendees, and my entire team at Virgo Communications. This event would have been incomplete without all your support and participation, each one of you. We look forward to meeting you in our next edition. We are coming up next with Future Buildings and Smart Mobility Summit Mumbai edition on December 5th. Not too far, so if you are in Mumbai around that time, December 5th, do block your calendars and join us. Do spread the word among your industry colleagues in Mumbai, because after what you've experienced in Chennai, you know what Mumbai holds in store.